Donald Trump just broke with his own vice president. At first, that might seem like just another routine political spat, but it's much more than that. This is a power struggle at the very top of the Republican Party, a fracture that could shift the entire landscape. What happens when the man who once helped shape Trump's movement gets cast aside? This isn't just about J.D. Vance. It signals something much bigger. In the next few minutes, you'll understand why this moment could change everything and why it matters to you. Stay with me. What we're seeing isn't a minor dispute. It's a fundamental breakdown within the Republican Party itself. Trump's break with Vance isn't just personal. It's a message to anyone who dares to think they can build power outside of Trump's direct control. Vance wasn't some outsider. He rose on Trump's coattails, riding the wave of MAGA endorsements. He was supposed to be the future, a bridge between Trump's base and what could come after him. But here's the twist. In Trump's world, loyalty is everything. And ambition? That better not outgrow permission. So why is this moment so crucial? Because it's not just about who's loyal to Trump. It's about who gets to define what's next for the Republican Party. And that's what we need to explore. How does a fracture like this play out when it reaches the very core of political power? Let's be clear. Trump's break with Vance was no accident. It wasn't a slip-up or an offhand comment. Trump made it strategic. Without naming Vance directly, he sent a clear signal to the entire Republican Party. If you're not fully aligned with me, you're out. No questions, no exceptions. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about Vance. This is a warning to anyone who dares to think they can operate outside Trump's orbit. And notice what's missing here. Vance hasn't fired back, hasn't taken the bait, the silence. It speaks volumes. If Vance were to escalate publicly, Trump would have had the perfect excuse to double down on the pressure. But this restraint, it's playing into Trump's hand in ways that may not be immediately obvious. What happens next is where things get really tense. This break, it's not an isolated incident. It's the start of a much larger power play. Think back to how Trump operates. First, he creates ambiguity, then he applies pressure, and if that doesn't work, he isolates. And we've seen it before. Just look at past moves, his handling of those who've even slightly strayed from his line. Every time, the pattern has been the same. Loyalty is demanded, and when it's not given, the consequences are swift. This isn't just a squabble. This is a fundamental shift in how Trump sees the Republican Party. Anyone perceived as preparing for a post-Trump world is a threat. And now we're watching that play out in real time. The question is, what's the party going to do next? Will they double down on Trump's control, or will they try to break free? Here's where it gets even more revealing. The reaction from Republican leadership, it's been all over the place. Some are staying quiet, others are offering lukewarm support for Trump while avoiding any comment on Vance. But this hesitation, it shows the cracks in the foundation. When party leaders don't know who's really in charge, it's like watching a ship without a captain. The messaging, fragmented, strategy, stalled, and voters. They feel the confusion long before anyone admits it. But what really stands out here is the contradiction. Trump demands absolute loyalty, yet the moment anyone shows a hint of independence, Vance included, they're pushed out. That tension, that fracture is what could define this moment. It's not just a fight over power, it's a battle over what kind of future the GOP is heading toward. And every move from here on out, it will be about choosing sides. Now let's take a step back and look at what's happening beneath the surface. In just a few hours after Trump's break with Vance, the GOP began to split into informal camps. It's not official, but it's unmistakable. Some are doubling down on loyalty to Trump, doubling down on his narrative. Others are watching, waiting, and calculating. Donors, lawmakers, even conservative media figures, they're all recalibrating their positions right now. And this isn't the sort of shift you can ignore. And here's the big question. What happens if this continues? If the GOP keeps splintering like this, the fractures grow deeper. And it's not just about who's loyal to Trump. It's about which factions control the future of the party. And as each day passes, it's clear there's no going back. The division is becoming permanent, and the longer it lasts, the harder it is to repair. Let's zoom out for a moment. Forget the elites, the lawmakers, the donors. This is about you. This fracture, it's going to hit real people. Voters who just want a party that works, a party that can lead. But when the GOP is caught in this web of internal conflict, what does it mean for everyday Americans? It means less clarity, more confusion, and a whole lot of frustration. Imagine you're an undecided voter in a battleground state. You see the party you once trusted breaking apart. Trump loyalists on one side, moderates on the other, and in the middle, chaos. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. This mess makes it harder to trust anyone. The cost? Potentially lower turnout, and that's a disaster for Republicans, especially when their base isn't enough to win elections anymore. If this feels familiar, say so in the comments. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't just about a personality clash. This is about the system that enables it. There's a reason Trump's dominance has been so strong. It's based on fear, spectacle, and above all, leverage. Trump knows that to hold on to power, you need control, and that means stifling any challenge to your authority. But what happens when that leverage starts to weaken? What happens when the base, the donors, and even the media start questioning whether this chaos is worth the cost? The problem is, chaos might energize Trump's core supporters, but it alienates moderates. And it certainly doesn't win over new voters. The system that Trump has built thrives on loyalty and fear, but it has limits. And those limits are becoming more apparent as the fractures spread. The real question now is whether the Republican Party can even survive as a functioning political entity under a leader who treats dissent as a death sentence. So where does this go from here? There are two possible paths, and neither of them is easy. The first is reconciliation. It's what party leaders hope for, but it's far from likely. For reconciliation to happen, Trump would have to dial back his rhetoric and accept a level of shared authority, something he's never been comfortable with. Vance, too, would need to swallow his pride and reaffirm loyalty, no strings attached. The party would need to quickly present a united front to calm the voters. But here's the problem. Reconciliation isn't Trump's style. Once he's pushed someone out, they rarely come back. History shows that public breaks like this don't get undone, they get redefined. Even if they manage to patch things up for the moment, the trust has already been broken, and that's hard to repair. The second path? Escalation. This is what Trump has always leaned into. Sharper language, clearer lines, more pressure on party figures to pledge their allegiance or face the consequences. Escalation consolidates control, but it also deepens the divide. It energizes his base but exhausts everyone else. It turns a rift into a permanent split, making it harder to unite the party again. But there's a third, far more dangerous option: permanent fracture. This isn't about an immediate breakup or a third-party split. It's about chronic dysfunction, different factions fighting for control, fragmented messaging, and competing power centers. The Republican Party could survive this, but it would no longer be the same. It would be a party in decline, consumed by its own internal battles, and that's a reality Republicans will have to face soon. Here's the deep insight. Trump is not preparing for a successor. He's not planning for a transition. He's demanding loyalty without question, and anyone who dares to step outside that line becomes a threat. Vance? He's a test case, and the answer so far is clear. Even the smallest hint of independence is not allowed. The real question now is whether this fracture can heal, or whether the Republican Party will collapse under the weight of its own internal conflict. And as this story unfolds, keep watching. The next phase of this battle might be just around the corner. If you want to stay on top of how it all plays out, make sure to follow and subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next.